we're going over once again this Army-Navy scenario and kind of the doomsday situation for the playoff committee. And we've talked about it before, but just for our viewers who may not know or may not be sure, this is the timeline, all right? So the American Conference, which is what Army and Navy are in, they play their conference championship on December 6th. The playoff selection committee makes their selections on December 8th, 2 days after the American Conference Championship. But Army and Navy don't play, and this isn't an extra game. This is the 12th regular season game, and, they're in the same conference. I know, David, you were looking up whether this game had no conference affiliation, and I'll let you get to that. But they play December 14th. So we went back and looked through, is there a bye week that Navy and Army share that maybe they could play this game on? Because, again, even, if for some reason it's not considered a conference game, which I'm not 100% sure if it is or not, this game could have major playoff implications for the group of five, because the American Conference is one of the top group of five conferences. So what is the answer? And then you look at a team like Tulane that's in the American that plays Navy but doesn't play Army. So, David, quickly, what do you do? What are they going to do?
Yeah, we've been talking about this scenario for a while here, and now it's starting to become more of a realization because both of those teams are undefeated. Now, what we had been talking about is what if Army and Navy both go undefeated and they're playing in the conference championship and then they have to play, 2 weeks later like they usually do on December 14th. Well, that's the cleanest scenario, right? I mean, what happens if one of those teams has a loss or has two losses and one of those other schools like Tulane or Memphis needs to see the outcome of that game in order for them to make the conference championship that's not played until the next week? But I have something here from College Football Alerts. This was put out on October 25th of 2023 when Army joined the AAC. Now, Navy had been in for a while, but when Army joined, it says breaking Army's joining the AAC in 2024 as a football-only member. The Army-Navy game will remain the second Saturday in December as a non-conference contest. So I don't know if that's still, you're saying that's still the 12th game for each team, but apparently it's still treated as a non-conference contest.
But again, so
like
we're going to have the conference championship game before you play all of your regular season games. To me, it's not as much about the conference championship game in the American as it is the playoff selection committee. If you want to make an argument on, it's about the conference, well, if it's not considered a conference game, I can understand. Tulane plays Navy, so the winner of that game, neither one of them play Army within the conference, so the winner of that game, if Army goes undefeated, would play Army. I think that'll work itself out. But as far as the playoff selection committee, if we're going to sit here and play the American Conference Championship game after Army and Navy have only played 11 regular season games, like, what happened? So you're playing 13 games officially, counting the Conference Championship game, even though the Conference Championship game is before your last regular season game. If you're the playoff committee, don't you need to see all 12 regular season games from each team before you decide who makes it in the group of five of the playoff? I mean, Blaine, what do you do?
I don't know. Well, at this point, you can't move it up.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
You can't. So what? So the second time they play, if they play in the conference championship game, it's not going to matter. That's what basically.
So you're basically saying, but again, remember the fifth highest rated conference, right? That's what's kind of deciding.
Yeah.
Is pushing this. That's that kind of group of five member of the playoff. I'm just sitting here saying, all right, well, if Army and Navy play in the American Conference Championship game, and let's say Army wins that, but then Army and Navy play again, and Navy beats Army, and it's 1-1. It just. They've got to.
Could that take you out of your conference being good enough to make the playoffs?
There's no language about the fifth highest rated conference.
Well, that's the group of five is to me, when I look at it, if they're going to take a group of five team, it's going to most likely be the team in a conference that is doing well, that did the best. Now, we can have the argument about if Liberty goes undefeated. We talked about this before the season. They had like 133rd ranked strength of schedule last year, but they went undefeated, and by the committee's rules, they would have gotten in the playoffs. So that may still be the case. But I'm just sitting here wondering, regardless of if it's the fifth highest rated conference or whatever, like, how can you make a playoff selection when a team hasn't played 12 regular season games?
Yeah, and if they play in the conference championship game, that is the best case scenario for the committee, because then they will have said, well, at least they played, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't play that 12th regular season game, but now they have 12 games. That was the conference champion. Whoever wins it and they're undefeated, we'll just take them. The problem with it is if they don't meet up at all, and one of those teams is undefeated, and the selection committee makes their selection, and then the next week that team loses.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't go back and put a team like Liberty or let's say like
it's a mess.
Boise State with one loss in then.
It's an absolute mess. Yeah, and that's when I threw the gun in the river and got out of there. Oh, hey, what's up, YouTube? Appreciate you guys stopping by. If you get a chance, hit that subscribe button. If not, well, I guess it is what it is.